Weed in the movie Click by Adam Sandler. If you haven't seen the movie Click, it's actually one that I highly recommend to you. I'll sum it up for you here pretty quickly. Now, the movie Click is basically this guy that goes into a store and he finds a room that's in the back of the store that nobody else really seems to know about. And in this room is a guy that works there. He's kind of similar to like a genie or something like that. And he allows Adam Sandler to have access to what's called this universal remote. Now, in real life, we have universal remotes that we can pair to our television, to our DVD player, and other systems that we may have hooked up to our television to take us from having 3 to 4 remotes to just one remote that takes care of everything. And the movie kind of plays off that same principle. So with this universal remote, Adam Sandler takes it and he's like, okay, I'm going to go through my life and utilize this. Now, just like marijuana smokers, this kind of pairs well with the movie Click, because in the movie Click, at first he doesn't really know how much he can utilize this universal remote. So he kind of goes through life and he's curious. He's like, oh, well, what if I hit the fast forward button now that I'm at a family function around people that I'm not really enjoying the company of, and wonder what will happen. So he hits the fast forward button, and rather than sitting through a couple hours of that family dinner that he didn't want to go through, it fast forwarded everything. And before he knew it, it hit pause and he was back to where he was able to not have to sit through that. It was like a minute to him versus sitting there for hours. And so basically the whole theme of the movie revolves around that theme in general. As every time he would encounter something that was uncomfortable, he didn't want to go through, or he just wanted to speed along, he would pick up his remote and then he would use that remote to click, and then he would fast forward. Now this remote over time would actually start to predict future things that he would do. So rather than him having to pick the remote up himself and click fast forward to get through certain things that he didn't want to go through, this remote would automatically do it for him. And so marijuana addiction is pretty much the same thing. Is every time you may go through something that's uncomfortable, or you don't really want to face an issue in your life, you learn over time that, oh, I can just take a smoke. And every time you smoke, you kind of get to fast forward or escape those internal feelings, the realities, and whatnot. So over the course of time, just like in the movie Click, at the very end, he actually ends up in a lot of regret at the end of his life. His kids grew up faster than he was expecting. Him and his wife ended up getting a divorce. She moved on to somebody that had their shit together in comparison to him. And so he really was left feeling like he really didn't live his life much. Everything was on fast forward and he just kind of mindlessly went through life. And so marijuana addiction is very similar, because what happens is a lot of people start smoking and the consumption is actually not that high. But as they gain the awareness of how it makes them feel, and it's usually at the beginning, it makes them feel pretty good. But then as time goes on and you keep escaping every issue that you have, it can actually become harmful, because in the moments that you can't be high, maybe you need to be sober on the job, or you have to be sober to get that new job, or you're just out and about and you don't have enough money to get more of your own supply, you actually have to go through life anyways. And what happens is when we fast forward through life, when we actually hit the pause button on our own development, our own ability to gain the skills and resources to deal with issues without having to escape them, we actually end up losing valuable resource states, valuable tools in a sense in our own toolbox that allow us to cope with things that everybody else in this world goes through. And so some people, rather than smoking marijuana to feel better, they start running. There's a thing called runner's high, because people that run end up having this sense of euphoria. There's also people that, go to the gym, and a lot of people that go to the gym, if you actually go up and ask them, they'll tell you that, hey, I actually started to go to the gym because of my own mental health. I was not doing well, and I decided to start going out and working out, and I found that that really helped my mental health. So it's a little bit more effort and more intention than just lighting up a smoke. So it's not necessarily the first thing that most people would pick, because it's a lot easier to just light up a smoke and kick back and not have to worry about anything. But, what are the consequences long term of doing that? If you hit the pause button on actually building the skill set to deal with the issues in your life, what happens when you go forward another 20 years and things that you should have been able to handle throughout your life, you're now struggling to handle because you never handled them previously. You just went home and you smoked. You didn't have to deal with it. You went to that family function higher than a kite because you didn't want to have to deal with the people there. Or you came home from work, and even though you hate your job and you should probably get a new job, no, I'll just light up a smoke. And so you do that for long enough, and there's a pretty good chance that towards the end of this, you're going to end up not liking the results that you get. So if this is something that you're struggling with, and this is something that you want to actually overcome and not have a lot of the struggles that a lot of people have with the withdrawal symptoms, or just the in general issue of relapse, talk to me. We can actually schedule a free call and we can talk. And at the end of the day here, if you really want to deal with your problems, you're going to do so. But you may still be needing to discontinue down your habit until you reach that point where you're actually ready to change things. Because let's face it, I can brush my teeth every day. I don't necessarily need a dentist if I stay on top of everything. But life ends up happening. Things happen, and sometimes you get a cavity. Sometimes your dental health needs a little bit of professional assistance. And so I sometimes will go to the dentist because I understand that I'm limited within my own capacity to deal with the things that a dentist could deal with. So sometimes actually saying I need help and going and seeing a professional is something that actually adds a lot of value, and it'll save you a lot of time in the long run. So if this is something you're ready to deal with, hit me up. Let's talk. Take care.